All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 393 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And today, we're going to talk about what Keyshawn Johnson said about Matt Ryan. I think this happened like a few days ago. And I don't really like to talk about Matt Ryan too much when it comes to just the Falcons in general anymore, because the Falcons moved on and there are other things to talk about, in my opinion. And when you're trying to build a winning franchise, you really don't look backwards too much. So, but nevertheless, I think this is pretty important because I think a lot of us need to start looking forward and look a little bit more in a positive light, because it's not too much negative going on with the Falcons unless if our fan base creates it. But that's another story for another day. We'll get into this topic in general and we'll go from there. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the First and Frame Rate Show. This is episode 393. I am VF Baller. Over here we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football and everything under that umbrella. I was just really, looking back, and I was thinking, like, last year was actually pretty successful for the most part. We lost a lot of pieces on offense. We weren't really we weren't really playoff contenders, even though we did, vie for a playoff spot almost at the end of the season. What Matt Ryan and basically Arthur Smith done was something short of phenomenal, because we had no business winning 7 games. But nevertheless, it was time to move on for Matt Ryan at the end of the day. I believe it was time for them to move on because we actually had a situation where it was just too much cap space to hold on to Matt Ryan. And we ended up trading Matt Ryan for a 3rd-round pick, and he moved on to the Colts. And that 3rd-round pick ended up being D'Angelo Malone. So basically we traded Matt Ryan for D'Angelo Malone, which nothing could really replace what Matt Ryan has done for the Falcons or whatever the case may be. I mean, maybe you can ask for a few 1st-round picks or whatever the case may be, or anything of similar to that. But Matt Ryan has done a huge service to the Atlanta Falcons franchise or whatever. You can never be thankful enough for what he's done. At the same time, we also have to understand that things come to an end. We have to move forward. Well, Keyshawn Johnson actually, sounded off on this. I think it's on various websites when it comes to, I think, SI.com. I know Sports Talk ATL talked about it. A few others, I think Yard Barker, a few others have talked about it as well. But I'll leave the link down in the description to one of those sites so you can read it for yourself. And we'll talk about what Keyshawn Johnson said. Right here it says, Keyshawn Johnson quotes, "It's not a mistake at all. Falcons did a wonderful thing by allowing Matt Ryan to leave and go to a team that compete for a championship. He deserved better, and they knew that. That's why they're giving him better. The Falcons aren't ready to compete right now, and Ryan doesn't have time. He can't sit around and wait for 3-4 years. Time is running out for Matty Ice." I absolutely agree. Now, I will sound like a hypocrite because you can go back and look at some other episodes where I felt that they shouldn't trade Matt Ryan. I was against the trade at one point. But once Matt Ryan was traded, I did a live stream. Also, that was another episode where they had a press conference about why they traded Matt Ryan. And at the end of the day, it started to make a lot of sense about what they were doing. And they wanted to get from under that cap space. They felt like they couldn't keep kicking the can down the road. And basically, it was money. I'm pretty sure they did not want to get rid of Matt Ryan, but his contract was so big you couldn't put other pieces around the team. This is one reason why I was wildly against. And I know me and my former colleague that was on the show a while back, Bill's Fourth, we went back and forth about this. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really a big fan of paying quarterbacks very, very high money. I'm just not. This is starting to be a trend with wide receivers now. Like, you can go look at Devontae Adams and A.J. Brown deal. This is starting to become a trend with them, because when you give them all that money, you allocate so much funds to 1 or 2 players. You cannot fill the rest of the roster with decent talent who deserves to get paid as well. So this is kind of what happened with the Falcons. We almost made it work, because you got to understand, what was 6-7 years ago, was it 6, 7 years? I think it was like 6, 7 years ago. We was in the Super Bowl. We should have won the Super Bowl. And I guess that's the old mantra that teams are using now. They pay these quarterbacks really high. They use the elite status and they build other talent around just to have the quarterback to carry the team over the finish line. We're starting to see that trend to be with wide receivers now, where wide receivers are starting to get paid a lot of money and you can't get offensive line all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? So it's something that I get it. You get paid for what it's worth or what the market's telling you that you're worth. But at the same time, why would you pay? And I know they're still doing it to a certain extent, but why would you pay somebody $125 million with like $80 million guaranteed or something like that, and you can't sign anybody? It's pretty crazy how that works nowadays, you know? So there was a couple of other outlets that were, you know, like I said, that reported on this, like SI.com and, you know, it has Yard Bark, I think ATL, Sports Talk ATL, which, you know, they do local sports as far as the Falcons and other Atlanta sports, like you know, for the most part, kind of like what I do. But I want to give a shout out to SI.com, and it's not a knock on any of the other places that reported on this, but, you know, the Falcons had, you know, pretty much have a positive outlook on everything, even though the way this played out. And SI.com pretty much put out an article where it was more like, you know, a win-win for both sides, which at the end of the day, it kind of is, because now the Falcons can look down the road with better cap space next year. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not really big on D'Angelo Malone because I haven't heard much about him, but I think he could be a solid player for the Falcons. Now, it's kind of weird you're going to compare, you know, D'Angelo Malone to Matt Ryan, but, you know, they play two different positions, and if he can continue, I mean, I ain't going to say continue, if he could be a solid player throughout the course of his, you know, tenure at the Falcons, maybe it'd be long-term or maybe it'd be somewhere around, you know, he fulfills his contract and may find, you know, another place somewhere else. I think it's a win-win. Not only that, you're getting all this cap space. So I think it works out for both sides. Now, it's going to be some growing pains for the Falcons, obviously. Even though, like last episode, I said that the division title is not out of reach, but it's still going to be some growing pains. You're dealing with a whole new quarterback now. I mean, the scheme is the same, but a different quarterback. Now, the quarterback may be more catered to that scheme, but you basically have a brand new team now, a completely brand new team, offense, defense, and special teams. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Now, as far as the Colts go, they got a Hall of Fame quarterback. They're basically like a quarterback away of actually making noise in the AFC. Looking at the AFC, what is it? The AFC South or something like that, Aaron? I can't. You know, I don't really know off the top of my head. I think they got the Texans, the Jaguars. You know, they don't, and you know, they don't have much to go up against as far as, you know, the Titans are the Titans. We don't have much to go up against when it comes to the you know, the AFC the division that they're in. So it is what it is, and I think they're going to be able to make some noise with what they're doing, and I can't wait to see, because I'll be watching from a distance. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's our quarterback. It's Falcons fans. It's our quarterback. But I feel like at the end of the day, at some point, we're going to have to move. It's going to have to move on. And at age 37, it's, you know, it was going to happen eventually. I know there were some other outlets that were saying that we did it a year too early, where, to be honest with you, nobody was talking about this a year ago. Let's not kid ourselves. Everybody was still worrying about who Matt Ryan was going to throw the ball to when it comes to Julio Jones. So, you know, nobody was talking about this last year. Maybe a few people that are, you know, diehard didn't like Matt Ryan being in the Falcons uniform, but that's a whole different issue when it comes to why we felt Matt Ryan needed to be traded. But logically at the time, when you really look at it, nobody was really talking about it like that, not like how it is now, you know. So, like I said, there's some outlets saying that he should have been traded a year earlier. Yeah, hindsight is 2020. You know, we all going to do that. I mean, we'll probably do that next time when something else happens, or in the Atlanta sports, or even with Georgia Southern. Somebody's going to come and say, "Oh, we should have did this then." Like, you wasn't really talking about that. We all know that. But I really feel that what Keyshawn Johnson said, looking back on it, it makes sense now. it makes a lot of sense. I kind of felt the same way when the press conference was done with Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. It was kind of surprising that they wanted to do it as soon as they walked in the door. I did not see that coming. When they basically confessed and said, hey, we've been wanting to do this ever since, we got here, because we know that was the biggest liability as far as cap space. And they wanted to move on from him then, but they felt like instead of just giving him away to anybody, they want to do the right thing and make sure Matt Ryan goes to a place where he could be able to contend and compete at a high level. And at the same time, get out of the Falcons' hair. You didn't want to, move them on to a divisional rival or a conference foe. So they moved them all the way to the AFC, which at the end of the day, we didn't get, like I said, you're not going to get as much compensation back as you want to for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has done a really good job for the Falcons. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Took us to a Super Bowl. He basically won us the Super Bowl, which a lot of outlets now are finally starting to realize and admit, oh, Matt Ryan, it was not his fault that he won the Super Bowl. Newsflash, where were you 6 years ago? But, that's another story for another day. I feel like we're not going to get the compensation we could have gotten. At some instances we felt like we got fleeced, but when you look at everything that comes with it, the money off the books, the looking at things down on the road for 2023 and 2024, the prospects or the acquisitions that we can make, bringing a lot of players in that was not 60, 70, 80 million against the cap. We actually get some guys here for the following year. And I think that's enough compensation. And depending on how we do this and make things, I would say make things comfortable for free agents and people want to come to play for Falcons, it'll be all worth it. But what we're going to have to do, we're definitely going to have to win some games. And this is why I say if we even get close to a division title, if we're not at the bottom of the NFC South, I think we're going to be able to attract some players, especially if we can have an exotic and sexy and, basically a productive offense. You're going to have players that's going to want to come and play because offense wins games and that brings people in. What that does, it brings people with a defensive mindset. Defensive players want to come in and assist with that winning that the offense does, and the defense can come right behind them and win championships. We win football games with the offense, but we win championships with the defense. And I always felt that way. Always felt that way. So we'll see how that plays out. And it looks like, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Matt Ryan deserved better, and Keyshawn Johnson is right. I cannot disagree. If you like this commentary, hit the like button. If you like this podcast, share this podcast. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. What do you guys think? Do you think Matt Ryan deserved better? Do you think Keyshawn Johnson was right? What are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comment section if you're on YouTube or Rumble. Also, if you're on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts, give me a 5-star rating and give me some feedback. Let me know what I've done good or let me know what I've done bad. And, just whatever you feel like is indifferent. Also, I like to look at this stuff so it gives me some feedback on what I can do better or what I need to drop or what I need to add to the show. Thank you guys so much. Last episode did very, very well. I want to keep that trend up. Hopefully I will, but it all depends on you guys. You make this go. You make this show go. And I can't thank you guys enough. All the links are down in the description. You want to check out all the ways of support. And I will be back on Wednesday with another episode. We may jump over to Georgia Southern football. I don't know. Just depends on what's going on. All right, y'all. You guys take it easy. You guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. You guys be blessed. Peace.